And welcome back, everybody, to Real Estate Unlimited. And we have James Franklin with us today and looking for a few more guests to come in. We are going to be discussing why a seller should sell. Why is this a good time and why should a seller sell? And we're going to hit this right after this. And welcome back, everybody. We have James Franklin in the house and talking about house. You, as sellers, might want to sell your property today or in this market. And the question is, why should you sell? That's the real motivation here. And I want to talk about a few different points here on this: a realtor's perspective and a professional side on when a seller says they want to sell their house. As a seller, what they should be looking for and what should they be doing to prepare to sell their house. And if any other intake, you guys from the audience are welcome to chime in and ask us any questions. And we'll provide the link below. James, how are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well, man. Everything's good. Everything's copacetic.
Fantastic. And if a seller were to come to you and say, "Hi, James, I'd like to sell my house," what would you have? What type of questions would you have for that person?
What would I tell them?
Mm-hmm. Anyone?
Well, I'd go through the formality of a review with them working with real estate agents, disclosure. And then after I've gone through that with them, I'd go ahead and give them a listing presentation. I would more than likely ask them a few questions. Do you have a note on the house? Um, do you have any liens that you know of on the property? And I'd do them a I'd ask them, how much do you think your house will sell for? I put it in their corner first, their court. And if what they've given me, what I would do, and I customarily do this with my seller prospects, I will give them a peek behind the curtain so they can look into my back office and see the things that I do. And one of those things I would do with them is I would then get on my computer, get on the internet, and I'd go into the multiple listing service and I'd run a CMA for them, a comparative market analysis. I'd look at the list of available properties that have closed, from which I pull the most eligible properties to create a CMA, comparative market analysis, and show them the best comps or comparables. And then I'd click a couple of buttons so that the computer could average it, and it would spit out the outcome of what it is, that price range is, compared to what they're asking for. So that seller can see from the very beginning that what I do is it's cerebral. When I come to these figures, it is objective, it is
Mm-hmm.
analytical,
Mm-hmm.
it is calculative,
Yes.
it is rational. There is a reasoning behind it. And so we get away from the visceral, we get away from the subjective, we get away from the emotional. What I'm showing them are cold, hard numbers based upon actual sales that have already been transacted. And now we compare the number that they plucked out of the sky to the number I plucked out of reality. And then we can move on from there.
I
Now,
see.
if they're having reservations about selling, I think that's what today's podcast is about. Reservations, why a seller might have any kind of hesitancy in selling. And my first rebuttal to them would be, well, you should sell now because now is still a great time for sellers. Simply put, it's a seller's market still, despite interest rates going up and despite the inflation hitting, and in spite all the pundits talking about us heading for a recession, guess what? It's still an optimal time for you to sell.
Hmm.
It's still a great time for you to sell. And that would be my
Um,
number one.
I think that's great. We have interest rates just went up 0.75, I believe, a percent.
Yeah.
Just went up a little bit, and there are other options as they continue to go up. People, there are other options you can use. Inventory, as we can see, I've got posted here 1793, almost to 1800 homes. Possibly by the end of the day, we'll hit that listed in the market today. And so it is still a seller's market. It's still a good time to buy, a good time to sell. There's what 7,200, 7,500 real estate agents out there. So we're oversaturated. So a seller, now this is really, I want sellers to listen to this today because as you said, that's what the topic is. You know, when you're going to sell, it is a good time to sell. I think a very experienced and good real estate agent would say in this situation, and I think they should say, James, okay, you want to sell. What is motivating you to sell, Mr. Seller? Is it to maximize your income? I mean, maximize the sale of your house? Is that it? Do you have a place to go? What is your plans to do? Do you need to buy a house? Do we need to do a lease back? And the reason I say that is because a lot of people are selling and they're getting top dollar and then they're going to rent. Renting is went up. And if it's going to take them a couple years to renting, that extra 20 and 30 grand that you made is going to the renting. And interest rates are going to go up, which means buying power is going to come down. And with the way the scale works, hopefully the prices will start coming down. However, I don't see that happening too much of an effect in North Carolina. Granted, we have jobs coming in this area. It's a four-season state. People are moving out of state here. People in North Carolina move in North Carolina. You don't see many people leaving this state. So I think if you're a seller and you want to sell to capitalize on the sale of your home and the value of your home, you really need a plan B. And if you don't have a plan B, talk to your realtor to see what they could do for you to get you a plan B.
And I think you brought up
here's
a
just
very
some
valid. Yeah, I think that's a very valid point. As a matter of fact, what you just said, I think that should be said. That issue, that topic, that question should be brought up at the very, very beginning. What's Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, Miss Seller? What is your reason for wanting to sell? Why do you want to sell? Because once you uncover that, then you can service them better.
Hmm.
So I think that's very what you just brought up is extremely relevant.
Great. I think, James, with what's going on here in the market, it's going to be a good cusp for us buyers agents who are representing buyers to get people in with this inventory increase. Now, people are going on vacation starting. I've never seen, well, maybe I say never seen, but I'm noticing more, and maybe I'm just noticing it. People are already doing their summer vacations as of this week. We've always waited till 4th of July into the August, those were like vacation times. It's Father's Day weekend. There's going to be, it's Father's Day weekend. I'm noticing people already going out of town and going on vacations or going now that they can. These are people that are not in their houses. These are houses that are going to be sitting on the market for over 5 and 10 days. You as a buyer's agent, you really need to crack hard on, is the home priced correctly, and working to get the best price for your buyer and the opportunity of getting them under contract for the next month, I would say. And with that said, with sellers, I think you need to have a real estate agent to come over there and look at your house and see the condition it's in. Because houses, let's face it, houses don't sell for three reasons. Well, really four reasons. They don't sell because of the location. They don't sell because of the condition. They don't sell because of the price, or they don't sell because of the marketing. And usually it's the three, but I threw in the marketing because I think it makes a huge difference when an agent's actually marketing the property correctly. That's just my opinion. And you can change some of those. You can't change where they're at, but you can change the price. You can change the condition, and you can change the marketing. You can change your agent, but the location you cannot change, and what's coming you cannot change. And with that said, I think it's important that the agent listens to the seller to see exactly what's motivating them to sell, and go over there and look, guys, you got Zillow and Zestimate. Don't fall for that. Don't fall for that. Yeah, everything's great until they come in and they smell the cat urine on the wall. You know what I mean? Like, the Zestimate is a number. It's a number that that Zillow has put out, that possibly from their analytics what the sale of your house is. You need an agent, because if you put work in that house, obviously the value is going to be higher. If you have not taken care of the property, obviously you're not going to get as much. So with that said, I think it's important that sellers are aware why they're selling, where they're going, and what their plans are. And as agents, we need to be listening to this and helping them get there. I can't tell you countless times people who decide to get under contract with another house, and then they decide to sell their house, and they're on a contingency clauses, and it's just not, how do I put it? It's just not as smooth. It's not going to work together in that whole transaction. Any thoughts on that, James? I think I've lost James there coming in. So as he's coming back here. So guys, you're looking to sell your house. You're not sure what to do. Call an agent. Interview 3 agents. I always recommend interview 3 agents and see what their marketing plan is, see where they stand on the prices, see what they say about your house, and look at the facts. Is it an estate sale? Do you own? Is there clear title on the property? Are there any liens on the property? Have you updated your property? All these you need to take in consideration before listing your property. Well, how do I do that? Well, find an agent that you trust. How many real estate agents out there do you know? I'm asking the public now. How many real estate agents out there do you know, for my viewers? You probably know more than 4, because everyone and their grandmama all got a real estate license. Well, ask them to come by and give you their opinion and show the numbers. Have them show the CMA, which is the comparable market analysis. Have them look at the zoning. Have them look at the deed. Have them walk the property lines. Have them see the condition of the house to give you some real estimates. And I highly believe this. You should list the property. Sellers, this is my opinion now, but I'm just trying to steer you in the right way to maximize on your profits. List the property to market value, my personal opinion. Find out, that's what the real estate agent's there for. Find out what is the market value. Find out. James, I see you better now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I had to switch over to mobile phone.
That's cool.
My lighting is a lot better too.
Yeah.
In here, because this room just absorbs a lot of light. Anyway, I think that go right ahead. Go continue.
Oh, find out what the market value. Where the market value is, and then I recommend the seller to list on market value, not what you can get, not what you should get, not what the market's telling you to get on market value. You list low. The chances of you leaving the money on the table are high, because you're going to get bombarded, and you can only go so much. The expectation from the buyer is only going to be so much. You list at market value, the other agent will see that you listed at market value, and they're going to know that you know what you're doing. and it is a fair and honest price for the market. So if we're going to go up, we need to have a backup plan. Can you pay the difference? Because they're listing at market value. Appraisal is probably going to come in around this point. What are our options here? You list above market value what you think you should get, or what you will think, or what you quote, I will get. That house is going to sit. And you know what you're going to do? Drop your price. And then people are going to say, oh, it's been on the market 10 days. In this market, 10 days? What's wrong with the property? There's something not right here. Maybe they're hiding something. And then it's just a lot harder to get it under contract and sold. So, but anyway, what was that, James?
Well, you had said something a couple of minutes ago about getting a Zestimate from Zillow.
I did. I said, that's right. I said that when you're looking, people looking to sell, to interview 3 agents, don't just go on and look at the Zestimate, because when you look at the Zestimate, Zillow doesn't come to your house and evaluate it. Zillow doesn't know your absolute location. Right. Zillow doesn't know the smell of your house. Zillow doesn't know the condition your windows are in. So, and Zillow doesn't know when you make upgrades.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of truth to that, because another thing too, I got on Zillow just last night about for a seller prospect, and we're probably going to list pretty soon. I looked at the pictures that Zillow, this was off market. I looked up the house on Zillow just out of curiosity. The rooms were not updated. Though that's the way that they had pictures of the rooms the way they used to look. Mm-hmm. I looked at the estimate, the Zestimate that they had, and that Zestimate was Zerong.
Jay said Zerong.
That Zestimate was zucked up. And so I said, well, let me look around here, and it has a field on there where you can punch in and look at the comps that they used. I looked at these comps. I compared them to the list of results that I got back for this same house. Mm-hmm. The number of bedrooms was wrong. The number of bathrooms was wrong. The location was like more than a mile away. I'm like, yeah, this is really zucked up. So that would be my rebuttal to a buyer client. If we looked up if the buyer came back and said, well, I think this house sold the price. Well, how do you know? Why do you think that way? Because I looked it up on Zillow. Well, let's take a look at the comps that Zillow used to come up with this estimate. You see where they're off on these comps? Now look at these same comps that I've got a whole list of them. And this is the reason why I did not pick this comp that Zillow chose to pick. This is why I didn't pick this comp that Zillow chose to pick. And this is why I didn't choose that comp that Zillow chose to pick. I chose these comps instead. Do these make more sense to you, or does Zillow's comps make more sense to you?
Granted, Zillow does not come and meet you and sit down and go over these things with you, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I would use the same rationale with my seller.
Absolutely. And that's what makes real estate agents of value.
Yeah. There is an organic aspect of the service we deliver that can never be computed by a robot, by a machine. Can never be done. I don't think it'll be done in my lifetime. You know,
I hope not.
If a robot can't tell you which one of these pictures has a traffic light in it, then how is the robot gonna pick out the proper comparables?
Fantastic. You know, everyone, we were talking about AI in my other podcast earlier today, or the broadcast that I was doing, and how they're making they're making waiter like servers, the robots. They drive your food to your table, and then you
Mhm.
pay with your card or put the money, and it goes back. And
Mhm.
they got a robot flipping burgers now. And I mean, these jobs should not be replaced. These are low skill jobs. I don't want to say that in a derogatory form. I mean, it needs to have skills, but it's a job that where they could bring in a machine. This right here, we need to stay professional and protect our jobs. And at this point, no. And I hope it stays that way. James, would you say it's wise for a seller to list at market value and not what they think they should get or they could get for the property?
Oh boy, this is really an age-old controversial debate.
Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, there we go. There we go.
All right. I try to reason with my sellers. Let's list this at the market value, what it'll bring, right in the middle of it. Because, and my rationale, or lower. Now, you just said you shouldn't list it lower, but I'd rather go lower than go higher. Because if you go low, you'll create a feeding frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
And most of these serious buyers have lost an average of 6 to 12 bids already. So if they're still serious and they're still hunting, they're going to go in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you bid under, it's going to create a feeding frenzy, and that's good for the seller, I think.
Right. What about leaving money on the table though if you're too low?
Well, if you go low, everybody else, all these buyers, they're going to bid higher. So they're going to meet and exceed what you really should be at the market value, the market amount, the median. They're going to meet or exceed it. The median is right here. If you go slightly below, it's going to cause a boiling of the waters, a feeding frenzy, and then it's going to go at and then go above. So there won't be money to be left at the table. The only money that's going to be left at the table is if you are not a thorough agent and you're not checking the little incidentals as far as the seller's closing costs are concerned, for example. So that's the only money that's going to be left at the table. I try to get my sellers to at least go, go at the medium, the average, or a little below.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to go higher,
but not massively below.
What's that?
Not massively below.
Not massively below. No. If you go higher, if they get greedy and they're trying to go for the maximum, that one of the 3 or 4 comps that has that highest number, and they try to go at that number, you run a risk of the house staying on the market longer and buyers saying, what's wrong with this house? Or this house is priced too high. I want to wait before I make an offer. And you run the risk of it being on the market.
I believe we just lost James. There he is. Hold on, Jen. Let me make sure I can unmute you here. Okay, so there's we can't hear you, James. There's a connection. I think it's whenever you log back on.
Okay. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, there we go.
I'm sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm on my mobile phone. It's better connection, but I got people calling me. So,
it's okay.
And I didn't put it on Do Not Disturb. Anyway, now, if I get a seller client, and let's say that the house is $129,000 house. But James, I want to go 149. I tell them it depends on what the condition of the house is and the location. If it's a house that's good to go, that's turnkey, a house that I would not have, I wouldn't mind for my mother to live in,
Mm-hmm.
then we can go for it. But I'm going to put it in an email. This is against my better judgment. And I've been wrong. I've had a turnkey house that I said we should start at about 240. Well, I want to go to 260. And the thing sold at 265.
Wow,
James.
Yeah.
I've been wrong. That house was a turnkey house. It was clean. It was modern. But if it's a house that was built in 1927 and it's functionally obsolete and you got more dirt in the yard than grass, and you got a cellar, an earthen cellar in the basement, that's unfinished basement. We got no business pricing it higher, drastically higher than we should. It's just going to sit there.
Absolutely.
So it depends on the location and the condition if I will acquiesce and give in to my seller or not. Now, I've had sellers that were really, really stubborn and said, no, I want to list this functionally obsolete, 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom, 1 egress of a house. I want to list it $20,000 higher than what you recommend I ought to list it. And I give them all the reasons why we shouldn't. But they're insistent on listing it that high. I say, okay. I send them an email. That way I can say I told you so. And they cannot say, oh, I don't remember you saying that. Well, I emailed it to you. It's right here. It's right here, baby. So I've gone that route, and we've had to come down. We've had to come down. We've had to come down on the price. And we come down on the price, and there's been several cases. They'll come down maybe about as much as $10,000. We do it. We get a few bites. We get a buyer. We accept the offer. And guess what? The appraiser gets involved. And we still got to come down some more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right around, you guessed it, what I told them they should have listed it for in the first place.
Mm-hmm. So as an agent,
you should go with, yeah.
Yeah. Do you stick to your guns on that?
I stick to my guns until I get too much pushback. If I get too much pushback, then from my seller.
Yeah. So you as an agent representing the seller,
if I get too much pushback and they simply won't listen to reason, then I say, we'll do it your way. I send them an email that justifies, it gives a list, bullets, why we should sell it at the price I gave them per the CMA. And that way, once we do have to do that, bringing down the price, I can say, look, when we're not getting any offers, I can say, look, I told you so. Let's come down on this. So yeah, I stick to my guns, but only up to a point. I'm not going to belabor it with them. If they're insistent on keeping it high, that's fine. But if the front side end doesn't get you, the back end will. And what I mean by that is if the front end of offers are not coming in and you have to bring it down anyway on the front end, then you're going to have to do it. Then the back end's going to get you, because if you have a buyer and they say, yeah, we'll pay all that money for this, and they got a lender involved, guess what? The appraiser is going to get you on the back end. So if you don't get God on the front end, you're going to get God on the back end of it.
I gotcha. Yeah. James, do you ever walk away from a listing?
Yeah. I will walk away from a listing if I can clearly perceive that the seller is cray-cray. And I say that in the utmost seriousness, because you got some lunatics out there. And I'm talking about cuckoo. You got some cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs out there. You do. And I will walk away from that. In fact, I'll run away from it.
Oh, Agents, you listen to this. If you foresee issues that it's going to be a disaster,
Yeah.
maybe just best just walk away.
Yeah, I mean, we all will dismiss a buyer just like that, a crazy buyer. But you got crazy owners out there too.
Yeah.
And yes, I will walk away. I'll walk away. I might even refer so I can get a percentage of referral and get money for nothing. But if I'm not going to deal directly with them though. No.
Absolutely. Okay.
Because at the end of it all, I'm here to help them. But if they just are resistant to me helping them, then what's the value in that? What good is it to me? And what good is it to them? You know, and at the end of the day, too, if I've gone through all of this, jumped over these steeples, and I've jumped up through all these hoops of fire, and then I finally get my dividends after the transaction, I'm going to look at that check and say, James, was it really worth it?
I would say it is. I would say it is because you put in a lot of work.
I don't know. Well, I don't know, because when you break it down to an hourly thing, and I find that I'm making less than minimum wage for somebody who is unappreciative, about the whole thing matter, and I could have been channeling my energies and effort and my focus into someone else, then I don't know. I'm going to have to question if it's worth it or not.
And that's a lot of misconception on people. They think that we make a sale. Oh, you make a couple sales a year, you're set. It doesn't work that way.
No. Now, if it's a couple of $1 million sales, then yeah, you make a couple, like 3 or 4 of those, then you're good. But the thing is, there's a smaller pool of buyers for $1 million houses. So what does that mean? It means it's going to take longer for $1 million house to sell than $100,000 or $200,000 house to sell. And guess what? I brought up this subject talking with another agent a while back, and we concurred, which is better, to have $1 million listing or to have 10 $100,000 listings. It's better to have option 2, 10 $100,000 houses, because when you think about it, the commission adds up to the same, because 10 times 100,000 is $1 million.
Yeah. And the chances of them selling at 100,000 is less likely because they're going to sell for more.
Yep.
And you can charge your full commission. Where at $1 million listing, the seller,
they're going to haggle over it.
Yeah. I give you 1.5, 1%.
Yeah, there you go. They're going to haggle over it. But if you're selling a house of lower a price tag, they're not going to haggle over that commission. No. And then on top of it, what if that $1 million sale falls through for some reason? You got to start all over with that one. But if one of the 10 houses for 100,000 falls through, well, you got 9 others. That one, and because you got a larger pool of buyers for that one house that did fall through, you're going to get another buyer just like that, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'd go with that slow drip. Give me those little measly $100,000 houses than $1 million house. Plus, it's a lot more too. You get $1 million house, you're probably going to have to get a professional photographer. You got to get a drone if they got a pool, or you're going to have to get a drone and hire a drone pilot to take pictures and snap all that stuff. It's just more effort that into that $1 million house than it is into these $100,000 houses.
Your marketing package is a lot more expensive and a lot more invested than you would on the other houses.
I want a big sign in my yard and all that. Man, these $100,000 houses, most of these agents out here listening are gonna want to kick me. Man, I don't even put a sign in that house.
They never put the disclosures up. That really kicks that. I can't stand that.
Man,
I go in there and they don't even have the disclosures. I'm like, what?
I don't put a sign up in the house. Now, if my seller wants a sign, sure, I'll put it in there. But for these $100,000 houses, I don't even put a sign up. I don't.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. He gets them sold.
Yep. You got for $1 million house, you got to do these color copies of the thumbnails. the pictures of the rooms,
Yeah.
and you got to collate it with the residential property owners disclosure, the mineral oil and gas rights. You got to staple that, so now it's eating into your pocket as far as the printing fees, whether you do it at your house or whether you do it at the office, so.
Biltmore edition marketing
Yeah.
on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
then they expect the open house. Man, I'm not doing an open house. $4 million house, I will. But then again, for the $100,000 house, I don't have to.
Right. Right.
I don't have to. There's no need for an open house.
Awesome.
Because then you got to bring out Krispy Kreme donuts, coffee, cookies.
Hey, where's it at? Because I'm coming.
You got these badass kids running around the house like they don't have any sense, So, school's out now. So you got to have more of these badass kids coming out when you have these open houses now, especially if you do them on the weekdays.
You can tell James has a lot of open houses for these $100,000 houses, guys.
Oh, man. So I'm not doing them. That's just another advantage of these cheaper houses. Well, not cheaper, less costly houses. That's just another advantage.
Yeah.
You don't have to do all that stuff. They sell themselves.
They do, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, what's your forecast on the market, James, till we get through this summer? You think it's going to slowly increase? I've noticed inventory increasing slowly. I'm just kind of curious on what your forecast is on it. You think it's going to be...
From my own personal experience, I think it is. The guy I know in Raleigh area, he wants to sell his house. He's only been in that house for 3 years. He wants to sell it. He wants to sell some apartments that he owns. For whatever reason he's got. And I can't divulge that on the air, but he wants to sell those. I myself have been thinking about selling my house, discussing that with my wife, and maybe perhaps building.
Okay. And let me ask you, would you downsize on square footage, or do you think you would upsize whenever you go?
I definitely need to upsize. Okay. I need to get something bigger for entertainment, for in-laws, like son-in-law, for grandchildren. I want everyone to be comfortable. I don't want people to be on top of each other. So I'm going to have to probably sometime in the next year, but within the next year, within this year that we're in, a 12-month time frame, bite the bullet, and we're probably going to have to get something else.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah. So speaking from my own personal anecdotal experience as an agent to other people and personally, I'd have to say there's going to be an increase in inventory. And that is going to, and that's what Biden's trying to do. He's trying to pat down. I was talking about this 3 years ago, and some agents I would tell this to, they say, James, you don't know what you're talking about, but that we see that it's happening right now. And I said, we've got low inventory. These prices are going to get out of hand, and whoever the president's going to be, the next president's going to be, whether it's Biden or whether it's Trump, whoever the next president's going to be, they're going to have to get in touch with the Federal Reserve, and they're going to have to pat down these buyers, the demand, by upping the interest rates.
Right.
And when you up the interest rates, it sifts out the less serious buyers, and you're left with a diminished demand that can level out with the supply. Mm-hmm. And that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do now. So people are gawking now at the interest rates going up, but people have short memories. There was a time when interest rates were like double digits.
Yeah, 82.
Yeah. Interest rates were double digits. People forget that.
Yeah.
And another thing, too, that people tend to not take into consideration, the government tends to overcompensate. And what I mean by that, with these interest rates going up, they're going to go up some more.
Yes, they are. And so, and I want this to be a point for everyone out there. It's still a good time to buy. And the reason I say that is they are high and they're higher but they're going to get even more higher. And like you
Mhm.
said, there was a time when they were at 16 and
Oh
18%
yeah,
people. Obviously, the house doesn't cost what it does today,
and
but
people were happy.
they were.
People were happy to
Yes,
buy at those rates.
yes. And so it's still, and refinancing is an option.
Yep. You got
There,
refinancing on the table. You've got cutting down your other peripheral debt on the table so you can save, take what you've saved and put it toward the principal
yeah.
so that you have a smaller principal, even though your interest may be the same.
Hmm.
Because interest is like the interest rate is kind of like a fire. Your principal is the logs, the wood logs. If you take more wood logs away, then the interest is going to burn down.
Ladies and gentlemen, oh, there we are.
So that you've got several things on the table, even when interest rates go up. You've got several as a buyer, you do have several things to combat the crunch of the interest rates.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, that pretty much wraps up the show for today. I just wanted to bring that to the seller's opinion on what our show's about. And when you're going to sell, it's still a good time to sell. But the real question you need to ask yourself as the seller, why am I selling?
Yeah.
And where am I going with this? Am I going to rent? And ask your agent, is it worth renting? Am I going
Yeah.
to lose money doing this?
Yeah.
Talk to your accountant. And then there's options. Well, I can't. I don't. If I sell, I have nowhere to go. There's a contingency agreement to where you can put your house on the market, and we got to find you a house to get under contract, and we work the dates together.
Right?
So there are options, sellers. I think this should be brought to the attention. Interest rates going up. It's still a good time to buy. They have
Yep.
not gone extremely crazy. And as a forecast, prices will come down, rates will go up,
Yep.
and it's still going to be able to be home affordability.
Yep.
That's my biggest concern: is will we have home ownership in this state? The locals should buy. The natives here should be able to have home ownership. That is my biggest, strongest concern. And I know there's been some talk about taking the names off the contract from the commission, right, for discrimination purposes. If they, I think the name should be on there. I think people should know who is looking at your house and who's wanting to buy your house. That's just my personal opinion. But regardless, wherever that goes, there should be some type of disclosure if you're an investor going in, because think about it, James. If the names are taken off, you don't know if it's an investor or a family.
Yep.
And you're like, well, you can't discriminate. Oh, yes, I don't want to say yes, I can, but we're in one pool, two different reasonings.
Yep.
One person is buying a house for a liability. One person is buying a house for an asset. It's the same house, the same location, the same pool, two different reasons. You cannot. It's not even fair for a buyer who wants to have home ownership to suffer at the hand of an investor. They're not making money off the house. They're investing money in the house.
Yep.
They're cleaning the carpet. They're paying a mortgage. They're not giving their money to a landlord.
Yep.
So,
well, it's like this. I think Shakespeare once said it best. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. It's people. So people get caught up on names. They think they can pretty much ascertain the ethnicity or race of a person by their name. I'm going to shoot a couple of names out at you, and I want you to guess who they are, what ethnicity. Terah Benjamin. Now, Terah was the father of Abraham. Terah Benjamin. Benjamin is obviously a Jewish name. Black. And not only is it not a man, it's a woman.
yeah. How are you going to know that?
Terah Benjamin sounds like a Jewish man. It's a black woman. Okay. India Cox. What does she sound like?
I have
First
no idea.
guess, I think she was black. White, Rhodesia Anderson. She sound black or white?
I have no
Or in
idea.
the middle? Brown.
Bro,
Rhodesia Anderson. White. Pedro Gonzalez. White or black or brown?
Hispanic.
None of the above.
There you go.
Chinese.
There you go.
Pedro
There you go.
Gonzalez. Chinese.
But they don't have an LLC next to the name.
No.
There's a person going to buy the house.
Yeah. So
There you
what's in a name? So keep the name on there.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel the same way. James, thank you for joining us today. How can people get a hold of you?
Get a hold of me at my number, 336-978-8491. Or you can get a hold of me by liking me or following me on my Instagram account. I am James Franklin. And you
Absolutely.
can DM me.
James is fantastic. Guys, thank you for tuning in today and on our edition here. And we'll catch you next week. And thank you so much. I'll see you guys later.
All right. Take care, man.